Everybody's head on.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here with us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Mack will be along in a few minutes. If you would silence your cell phones and devices and bow your heads with me. Father, we are eternally grateful for this opportunity to be here today together to lead on behalf of our students. Father, we reference your name above all other names. We know that as we live and move and breathe and have our being, Father, that comes from you, and we are grateful. Lead us and guide us today, Father. Give us wisdom, collective wisdom, to serve the least of these. Help us in all that we do to put the children first. Bless the work of our hands today and take us all safely back home. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
We're going to begin with the first item, which is a resolution to approve the educator preparation program at Spring Hill College. And we've got several here, and I'm not sure if there are representatives.
Most of them are here. We do have our Spring Hill
Here's
Dean
Spring
here.
Hill.
And I don't know, Dr. Hampton, if you want to come over with her too. And thanks for go ahead and get started. If you want to go ahead and talk to us about these programs, let me pull it up real quick. I know that we have
Class B Biology, Class B Elementary Education, Class B English Language Arts, and Class B History. Is that correct?
That's yes.
well,
So this,
go ahead.
all right.
I just was going to say, I know Miss Ziegler,
Yes,
you
we know
actually
each
were an
other.
instructor for Quality Spring
I was.
Hill,
I
and it's
was.
close to your home, and you know them very well. So let you go right ahead.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. We had an opportunity to go to Spring Hill and actually have our visit. Had a wonderful visit there at Spring Hill, was able to speak with faculty, administrators. The provost actually came and spoke with us for the afternoon, and we definitely talked to all the faculty within the College of Education. There has been some changes going on at Spring Hill, but in the midst of those changes, they are emerging strong as ever. They are preparing for their Cape visit at the moment. We were able to talk with them about that as well. And so they have gotten the faculty that they need in to make the necessary changes even in the Cape report that they have. We were thoroughly impressed with the students that we engaged with during the day. As I've said before, that's our best portion of the visit. But Spring Hill is poised to offer these programs and to produce some really great teachers for Alabama. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Paige Ryan.
thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to come up from Mobile. I only sneak away for a while because I live in the most wonderful place in our state. And my hometown is Gunnersville, so it's a race for that. But I love Mobile, and yes, and I especially love Spring Hill College. We are doing just really good work. The best thing I can offer you is that we produce very high quality teachers, and they are high in demand. Most of the decision making that I help them with is which school will they eventually work, and that is because they have 3 and 4 choices on the day of graduation, and so it is a really neat opportunity for us. So with that, we intend to extend our programs as far out as we can to continue being a strong EPP in the state with a unique set of opportunities at our college. We are a faith-based institution, and so that supports a unique group of students. So we are extending that. We propose to have the English Language Arts secondary programs. We are expanding that by adding history education. It is one that we had long ago. We had to pull it off the shelf to rework some things and make sure our faculty lines really before my time were aligned to what we needed to be. And we have that in place now. We have a really strong partnership, I think, as the State Department saw, with what we call content partners across the campus. We are small, so we all know each other and work intimately together. So I developed a relationship with those people and made sure I trusted them to be able to serve our teachers in the best way, and that the curriculum that we offer and courses that we offer are high quality. And so we had a lot of Friday afternoon meetings, and if you know me, I'm a retired K-12 teacher. I can be like an old wart. Everything has to be just so. And so we made sure that it was all where we need to get to be. Biology, we want to continue. It is a hard program to recruit students for, but I don't know if you know this, but we have been awarded $35 million at the college to build a new health and science innovation center. We're very excited about that. STEM will be a focus of that building. I'm on a STEM grant committee, an NSF grant that we've been awarded at the college. So we will use that facility to help recruit STEM teachers. Our biology faculty will be in that building. And so we're excited about that. It is just a real positive for the college. Our elementary education is really probably by far our largest program, which is great because that is most of our faculty's background. And so we just get in there and start making great teachers. We have a diverse opportunities for students across Mobile. We are in more affluent schools, and we are in the highest poverty schools, because our students need both experiences to fully understand that. They need strong classroom management. They need instructional strategies that are current, and that is what we are changing some things here today to make sure we are aligned with Alabama Literacy Act and anticipating what we will be working with the Alabama Numeracy Act. So as a former reading coach, instructional coach, those things are important to me, and just making high quality teachers. So that's our story today, and certainly open to any questions that you might have.
And I just want to say, besides being a professor, adjunct professor there, I took every opportunity to hire any Spring Hill graduate into my faculty. And we became a National Blue Ribbon because of the high quality teacher education program from which we were able to draw. And they were right across the street. It was wonderful.
We still go there.
We still
and down the street, and yes.
What is your enrollment at this time?
We have close to 80 students, and we are, secondary programs are much lower. So across our entire college, yeah, and that's unfortunate. We are trying to, we've actually partnered with 3 different school systems in the state for working with students at the high school level. If you really want me to tell you what I think about that, I think we need them starting about the junior year of high school, a collegiate experience, and then the first 2 years of a mentorship as they become new teachers. So about 8 years, because as the most famous Alabamian says, Nick Saban says, this is a process. And so we have to make sure that we do it.
So don't get this started.
I'm not retiring with it. I don't think Nick Saban will really ever retire. He will have an influence.
But I agree with you on that. Yes.
Yeah, and so we are partnered down at this level with high school. I serve on the Career Advisory Committee with Saraland City Schools, working with the teacher cadet group in Baldwin County and also with Mobile County Public Schools. So we're working on that. That's part of the recruitment to the profession. And the middle part is the training, and this is the retention. When we get out there, and they know us. They know us more than any principal. They know the faculty at these colleges of ed, and so mentoring them in those first 2 years, they trust us. And so we have to have that vision for that. So that's sort of our plan in working on all those parts. This is the middle part, the training. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Any other questions? We truly appreciate you taking the
You're so
time to
welcome.
be here with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, come see us at Spring Hill.
And continue the great job.
You're so
Absolutely.
Come see
Maybe
us.
the Prince Cafe needs to.
It sure is, the Avenue of the Oaks. I said, you cannot leave. I put them in my car and trapped them. They tried to zip out. I said, oh no, the Avenue of the Oaks is a must. So they enjoy it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have a resolution to approve the Educator Preparation Program for the University of Mobile.
And so if I may begin again, we had the opportunity as a team to go down to visit the University of Mobile as well. One of the things that was very interesting about this visit is that University of Mobile said we are a team, we remain a team, and we're gonna be a team today. So throughout the entire visit, we were able to have the group with us. And the thing that was very interesting with their candidates, I told them, I said, you know, if you're working on your recruitment strategy, this is your gold. Because the way those students spoke about the University of Mobile would convince anyone to come to get an education at the University of Mobile. But this time it's not for me. I have today with me Dr. Woodburn and Dr. Corliss, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about it.
Well, thank you for letting us be.
Can I say just before they start too, Dr. Corley, she's scared now almost about it. It's not about you.
I've missed you.
I've missed you too, but I'm going to say a quick word about your boss. I think University of Mobile has one of the oddest, in a great way, situations that the president of the University of Mobile also is one of our public school board members and serves, so he's president of the University of Mobile and he serves on the Saraland City School Board. And what an unusual thing. A president of a college does not have time to serve on a school board, but he does, and he's very involved. And I wanted to call him out for that. His great work in both of those institutions.
He is so supportive of us. He is so supportive. Anyway, thank you for letting us be here. Let me tell you about the programs that we have. We have Class B programs in early childhood, elementary, collaborative education, special ed, K through 6. And we also have several secondary programs, biology, history, social science, English language arts, math, and alternative education programs in early childhood and elementary education. We've been around for a long, long time, and like Dr. Hampson said, we have a highly collaborative group of educators who are former principals, who are former central office workers, who are former gifted people and psychometrists and special ed coordinators, and we work really well together. And our students are great. They are kind, they are hardworking, they are very considerate, and it's really a privilege to serve them and to serve that, the area. We work basically with 5 districts: Mobile, Baldwin County, Saraland, Satsuma, and Chickasaw. And it's a blessing. It truly is. We, again, just like Spring Hill, we're a faith-based institution, and it's a privilege to serve the kids there. We hope in the future that we will be able to open up an instructional leadership program at the master's level, because it's very needed in our area. And it was a delight to have Dr. Hampton and her team with us to talk about what we do. And there were lots of tears shed, but they were happy tears. They were happy tears. So do you have any questions?
I watched the University of Mobile grow over decades.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful campus.
It
It's
is.
a really great pleasure as you go into Mobile to pull off and go there. We've had a lot of, I live in Huntsville, Athens, we've had a lot of people who go to school there. And it's great to have another faith-based school that's that innovative in training our teachers, and I appreciate the efforts each of you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
The same question I asked, your enrollment, that's what I was about to ask, your enrollment.
It's around 150 in the school there.
And it's growing.
Yes, yes.
And
And our graduates are highly sought after in the local area, as well as in other areas as well, but they always get jobs, which is wonderful.
Thank you very
We're
much.
looking for many different ways of recruiting, so that is a big area that we're working on as a team in the School of Ed, is finding more and more ways to recruit. So that's one of our big goals for the upcoming year.
I know that the denomination gives a lot of scholarships and assistance for
Yes.
people to go, which reduces the financial impact, especially for training for teacher ed.
And we're about to go through our final Cape visit
Oh,
at the end of this month.
So at the end, right?
Yes, at the end of this month, so it'll be a big one.
We will accept prayers.
Well, we wish you the best in that, and we thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I know you had a long way to travel.
Right. And welcome back to the University of Mobile.
I know. Happy to be back.
We're happy.
We're happy to have her.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The third item is a resolution to approve the educator preparation programs for Talladega College.
And so, the good thing about our visits when we go out, each one of them has its own unique elements that we just love. And just like no district needs one-stop teacher, that you just can't say, this is the teacher that's needed for all districts, you can't say the same thing about our institutions. And when we got to Talladega, we've been welcomed so warmly at all of our institutions. But the thing that got us, and we were just sitting there in shock, is that most institutions, when we talked to candidates, we had many female candidates and very few male candidates. Talladega flipped it for us. We had more male candidates there that we were able to talk to than female candidates. And they came in as if they were there for a job interview, suited down, all of them. Truly, it was a pleasure to be there for the visit at Talladega, but to hear the candidates speak so warmly about the faculty, about their administration, the lengths that they will go to ensure that they are successful. How when they did not have any more money and were at the cusp of dropping out of school, the institution went out of their way to find the money for them so that they could continue. And so I just appreciate everything that they're doing. And so we have with us here Talladega College, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. Curry, and I serve as Dean of Talladega College of Education Program and Social Sciences. And
I'm Assistant Professor of Special Education at Talladega College. I'm Michelle Bridgewater.
so I have not been at Talladega College very long. I've transitioned there for probably this is going on my second year there. And so when I started out as Associate Dean. And so we started out assessing where we were and pretty much redesigning the program to make sure that we were in compliance. So we've redesigned a lot. We've involved the council that we have. We've involved the students in terms of processes. We've also been working with CAPE. And so now things are a lot different in terms of processes than what they were. We also reached back out to the previous administrators to get some feedback and assistance. And so we're in a different place now. We haven't had, prior to me coming in, I didn't know this when I accepted the job, but we had a lot of students in the program, but they were not actually graduating out of the program. So we had a student to graduate in 2023, the first one in a pretty good while actually, and we have some coming this spring in that short duration. So we have been working, there are no office hours for us. We have worked day, we have worked night. Prior to Talladega, I've served as a CHIP reviewer since 2018, so I was always in the midst of curriculum, which prepared me for what we were up against. So we have changed a lot, and I came in under a new president as well. So the president, the provost, that whole new group, we kind of came in together, all new. But we've done well. The students now understand rubrics and processes and compliance because we hold them accountable as well. Not so much of just telling them, but letting them know that we have a state code, and, we have a process, and just showing them and making it student friendly so they can kind of understand the importance of guidelines. So they probably could tell you just as much as we could because we kind of iterate that throughout the courses. Continuous improvement is at the heart of the program. Just understanding that failures are not an F, it's growth. This is where we were. This is why we change and we continue to change. And then just reach out to different people within the community. I've called so many people at the State Department because I serve as a certification officer as well and some other hats within that until we transition and fill the other positions. But just understanding that, we're all in this together. And I've not had anybody not help me. And I know Mary Jolly, that was another thing I didn't know she had passed. But when I was at Stillman, she had reached out to me to work on various projects as well. So I had been into her home and just working on various initiatives. But, it does take a village. And we've done a whole lot in a very short period of time. We just really have. So it's not been, and not just us, the students. They've been on campus in the building at 9 o'clock at night. And I wish I could share the video. I did let Alethea see a very heartfelt video of the teacher candidate, the one that graduated in 2023. Because when I came in, I went back and said, okay, we gotta have this, we gotta have this, we gotta have this. So she kind of, every time she saw me, I was telling Alethea, she was like, oh my God, it's Dr. Curry, what now? Because I was saying, we gotta have these checks in place. So for a while, she, she was never disrespectful, but the tone, because I was trying to organize everything. So when she got to the point that she needed to be, we wouldn't have any issues. We were there, but once she got there, she came back, sent me a heartfelt letter, and just said she understands now why the compliance is so important. And the documentation is so important, and it's not about what we feel, but we're under a certification program, so that code is important, and we can't change that. So we're in a really good place right now, and we're continuing to trend up. Yes, we found money because the students were saying, the black males in particular, that they're having problems paying for housing, transportation. So we went out and found money. Last semester they received $4,000 to utilize it toward housing, tuition, or whatever they need to. Also, all tests paid. They could take the test as many times as they wanted to. Also, boot camp paid, all of that, and any of the other testing resources. So they're very appreciative, and we also have some other things in place for the other gender as well, because the females were like, well, what about us? We want the free money too. So we're in a very good place. We're in a very good place right now.
And I just may say one other thing. Dr. Curry did share that video, but the thing that was beautiful to see is that each time we've talked to Talladega, they've had things they had to meet for us because they had to grow. And with that, there never was, you all come again, you want something else. It was, okay, let me make sure I understand it correctly. This is what you need. May I send you a sample of it to see if we're on the right track? So they have been very cooperative the entire way, and it's their desire to grow and get better that has been so heartwarming and appreciative throughout this process.
What's your enrollment right now?
We have approximately about 40 students in the program, but from my
But that
understanding,
has grown, because I know it wasn't that way years
yeah,
back.
and it
So
may be a
that's
few more, because I know this week was the first week of classes, and we have some more majors. So we're getting more and more. We're considered the fun discipline, the mother campus, as they call Dr. Bridgewater. So it's kind of like one of those degrees, because it is a heartfelt degree, but they know we care, so they gravitate to that. But I think the testing piece has been the one piece that's kind of made them, that's where the hesitation. But now that we have the boot camps in place and we have the funding for that, they're like, well, why not now? We can't say we don't have the money, because they're willing to make sure we take the test. And we're there with them during the boot camp. So that has worked out very well, because there's support pieces in place. And now that we have students coming out, they're like, oh, you passed? Yes, we passed. It wasn't that bad. The boot camp is helpful. The 240 tutoring is helpful. So it's kind of trending around. So we're using the students as the recruits, because they can tell the story better than what we can.
Right. Well, your efforts are to be applauded, and point of privilege, worked with Dr. Bridgewater in Birmingham City. She was over special education there. I've heard about the clothes closet also that you did not mention, providing clothing for those who are going out to do student teaching, who maybe cannot afford clothing.
I will say it's obvious that Talladega College is fortunate to have your enthusiasm and your commitment. And I'm very familiar with Talladega and AIDB and the public school, and I know your function in that growing and developing community, and how well you serve students as caring people in the full spectrum that students need, from the closed closet to the funding. And we're fortunate that we have you serving that part of Alabama. And we're fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
And we're glad you're in District 6.
All right now.
Sounds like they're recruiting. But it is good to see how you're removing barriers. That's a great model that could be duplicated in other institutions.
And we are pushing too. I think one of the things that we both think that help the students is getting them involved with the orientation, with understanding rubrics, because a lot of times, students they do it because you say do it, but if they're involved in the process, then they kind of could. And so we've taken their feedback and revamped some things, but then now they can see various things, so it's not this big fight, because it's like certain things you can't remove because it is policy, but there are, things that we can make more student friendly. So they, it's been, so far so good. We have worked together to kind of be very helpful, because at a minute, I am a very, as Alethea would say, Dr. Hampton would say, probably one of the most hardworking people, because that's just who I am, and I go in overdrive naturally. Whether
you
it's
just develop some enthusiasm, it might help.
yes. So you just kind of keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, because when I was an elementary teacher, I was always the one that had the lower kids. So and I took the lower kids and they became the high kids. And I seen that, so I've lived that. So I know it can be done by just not giving up on people. So you just kind of, once you've had that experience, it's kind of within who you are. So I'm glad to be where I am. I think, God is good. Timing is right. I knew Talladega was a very challenging institution. But I thank for God, we're at a place for a particular time, and I will do what I need to do wherever I am to make sure we're going in a positive direction.
Thank you for coming.
Correct job.
I'd like to add one thing,
Yay.
even though I've been quiet the whole time, which is probably best. But we are first generation, and that's a whole different ballgame. A lot of our students come to Talladega, they have no idea how college works. They have no idea that, how classes work, the whole 9 yards. And so we naturally, and especially myself, I have 2 sons who are in college. So these students are like my children, and they know that. So we do a lot of personal narratives with them. They know a lot about my life, they know about my sons, they know that I have a brother that's 95, so they know me. And that makes a big difference. My door is always open to them. They know that my classroom is a no judgment zone, not just my classroom, but our whole department. Students can come in and say what they need to say and not feel like they're going to be penalized because of that. A lot of times what they have to say helps us when we go back and look at how we need to rearrange some things. And as long as we can have that type of open relationship with our students, we will be successful.
Sounds like you're on the right track.
Absolutely. One encouragement I would offer is the board has been asking the last about where our graduates are going and how they're performing in the classroom. Are their principals that are hiring them satisfied with the level of work that they are prepared for when they come to school? And I see you as being in the catbird seat, because with one graduate and then those that you will build on this next year, you have the ability to track them yourselves. The numbers are not so large that you cannot understand how well prepared the teacher candidates are when they hit the classroom. We know that we've heard that the biggest challenge in the last several years has been management in the classroom, discipline management, the ability to stay engaged when students are distracted, and COVID certainly didn't help that. It exacerbated that to a great degree, and so I hope that you'll be encouraged by that, and we're so honored that you came today and that you are working with your students so closely.
Ms. Witt, if I may say one thing, it's interesting you mentioned that, because when we were there, we were talking about their preparation for their paid visit as well, and they have a video and the request from the superintendent where that student was placed, their candidate completer was placed, that asked if you have any more.
Wow.
We want them.
That's
that completer had done such a quality job. And I said, well, this is not gonna give you a lot of data per case, but this is quality data because that superintendent talked about how that candidate was an asset to the school district, volunteered for things, really dug in to see how they could help students when they didn't understand concepts. So it was very encouraging to watch and to listen to. And so they have that, they're beginning to collect that, and I said, as they get more completers, they're gonna continue that same trend to make sure they're continuing to get that information.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you all. Thank you. And now we have our university.
A lot of programs, and AUM just announced, in fact, I just saw it yesterday, a new dean.
Yes.
Very new, so we haven't even met yet.
So, you know, the thing I will say is that we're making some changes in Ed Prep as well, because I would like to give you all just a snapshot of what these visits look like when we're going to these institutions, because it's so powerful to look at the impact that they're having on these candidates' lives and the impact these candidates discuss that they want to go out and have on the lives of their students. And so I know, Dr. Mackey, you have every child, every chance, every day. And some of them actually can quote you on that. And they talk about how they want to go out there and that students would not know how much, they don't care how much they know until they know how much you care. The really great thing when we had when I tell you prepared, very prepared. And not just that, they are taking all the elements of their data and they're looking at it in a powerful and impactful way to determine what do we need to get better on. How can we adjust what we're doing with our candidates to make sure we're giving them the best opportunity? What are our partners saying they need more of from our candidates as they go out? What are they satisfied with? What are our candidates saying that is not quite what we need here? Because the session with the candidates here was very powerful as well, because in their early childhood program, I believe it is, they have a course that the candidates absolutely love. And so the elementary and the secondary candidates, why don't we have that course? We think we need that course too. And they were adamant about it. They are really advocates for themselves. And so we have Dr. Derek Smith here. He wasn't there when we did our visit. I know him very well because I worked with him at another institution. And I worked with the faculty at AUM. And I'm very sure that they're going to do great things with their candidates. I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you. So my name is Derek Smith. I came from the University of Alabama in Huntsville. I was there for 15 and a half years. I came to AUM for everything you just said. Very impressed with the faculty there. They love our students, and I'm excited to be able to work with the faculty and staff there to ensure that we put out great teachers. A wise man knows that when you don't know anything, you find other people who do. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Erin Clash, who was our assessment coordinator and led the college through this process. She knows everything about this. I'm fully aware of CHIP and have worked on CHIP for many years, but not as aware of what happens at AUM yet. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her discuss AUM and what we're doing so far.
Good morning, I am Erin Clash, and first I would like to just tell you I'm excited to be sitting here representing Auburn University at Montgomery College of Ed. Thank you to Dr. Hampton and your team. I cannot tell you how much we enjoyed it. I had students reach out to me about that session, they thoroughly enjoyed it, and so did the faculty. So AUM College of Education is very personal to me because I am an alternative master graduate and an EDS graduate from AUM, so they laid the foundation. I have a deep-rooted investment in the college. I am an associate professor of elementary education, and the last 2 years I served as our assessment coordinator. Our faculty have come together in such a way over the last couple of years to look at our previous CHIP submission and do a complete realignment of our curriculum to make sure that we are hitting every aspect of those standards in the state code. There were many hours of discussion and just thinking, are we doing this? And if we're not, what do we need to be doing? We have very purposefully looked at our field experiences, making sure that they are quite diverse in nature, that we are hitting all aspects of the upper and lower grade bands, and making sure that they are in a variety of placements across programs. We look at our data and we believe in being real and authentic about it. The course that you're talking about is called Families and Communities with Early Childhood, and I can tell you personally that I teach a Principles of Teaching course, and I can't address it for all programs, but I can for my program. So I've added an element of that within the course just based on that feedback alone. We have several programs up for approval today. We are out recruiting. We are trying to be innovative. I would like to brag on Dr. Burks behind me for a minute. She is the Department Chair of Curriculum Instruction and Technology. She started an initiative called Munch and Learn, where we bring our students together for bite-sized professional development pieces on a variety of just you need to know this topics. Our previous dean, Dr. Kelly Schumack, she started a once a semester event where we bring our students together to network. In the fall, we have a guest speaker, and Dr. Chestnut was kind enough to come and deliver a wonderful message for us. Thank you. And in the spring, we do a collaboration research celebration day. We recently had our first doctoral program approved, so we're really excited about that, and are about to hit the ground recruiting for that EDD. Thank you for your consideration. We are deeply invested in our candidates. I had a principal email me this week and asked if I knew of anyone available for a 4th grade social studies position. So they are looking, and they want our candidates, and just thank you.
Enrollment?
Approximately 500, graduate and undergraduate. But our graduate numbers are higher than our undergrad. We've got some work to do, particularly in the elementary and special ed areas. So I've been charged by our chancellor is an educator himself. He's a health educator, and he watches us closely, and he is encouraging us, and he's charged me with focusing on those programs to grow those programs.
Board members, any other questions?
And you said your recruiting is going well?
We are working on it. So one of the initiatives that we have, we were one of 6 institutions for secondary education, math, and science. We received the You Teach grant. I believe it's based out of the University of Texas. So I think that they set a low goal, and they have actually met that goal for the undergraduate math and sciences. So we are addressing that strong need in the state. I know that we are working with, in special education, the TSEC program, and the most recent data that I have, we have 15 students in one of the 3 special education programs, and 13 of those are TSEC, so we're looking at that and some other options. But yes, we're recruiting in a variety of ways.
And we're also one of the partners in the apprenticeship program that just started, so we're working with that as well. Yeah. We actually just got our first contact this week from a school district.
That's great. Thank you so much for
congratulations.
being with
Thank you.
us today.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Dr. Mackey, I think you were gonna.
I do. So the next item 5 is the resolution about cell phone usage in schools. So if you want to pull that up, pull it out of your packet. The draft that Mr. Swan drafted for us over the holidays. Before I jump into that, I do, again, as we've said, congratulations to Dr. Smith being the new dean at AUM. We had 2 deans announced since we last met. Also, University of Alabama, you may remember, their dean retired, and they've announced a new dean too. So it's good to see our institutions filling those roles, and glad that poor Dr. Smith had to jump right in immediately. I didn't see you back there, and I didn't expect you to even be here today. But again, thanks for being with us, and congratulations. I want to, before I jump on this too, while we're talking about the higher ed institutions, I mentioned this morning we have gotten some public comment. It was really good public comment. It's just about kind of making more clear some of the wording in the resolution you put out, the code you put out this morning on higher ed reading standards for public comment. And so I took those comments, sent them back to Ms. Harris, and she took them back to the committee, and they agreed with all of the suggestions. So just so you know, and again, I know I said that in the meeting, and I feel like that's important because y'all know sometimes we get accused of we're all down, we're down here doing things, and the public's not a part of it. Well, that's not true. They just have to be engaged in the process. And in this case, I was just so proud because I was going to be very clear that I was not going to make changes to the proposal based on the public comment as state superintendent without the committee saying, yeah, those are good ideas. They're more clear ways of stating things that don't actually change the meaning of anything, but it's more clear. And so the process does work, but people have to engage in the process. So I hope that people who are listening will think about that, and they'll, make suggestions. Actually go read the things that we're working through. But I'm excited about that. I don't know that we'll get any more comments because now we've had 3 outside, as I said, national kind of think tanks look at them. But we may get some more comments. So if we do, we'll let you know what those are. Okay, so on this, if we pull up this cell phone resolution, you remember last month I talked to you briefly about this, that this had come up. This is now one of the hot topics around the whole country. The Florida legislature, in their last session, passed legislation banning the use of cell phones in the classroom. It was brought up at the Excel in Ed conference in Atlanta, and I think, I may be mistaken, that Mrs. Bell and Dr. Reynolds said it was also brought up at the NASB. There's a discussion out of it, something people were talking
Well,
about.
I serve on the planning committee, and that was, we receive input like, an organization.
We had like a 4-hour seminar.
Yeah.
So it's a thing out there. Y'all asked us to just start from somewhere and draft a resolution we could look at. And so that's what you have today. I have, of course, the resolutions, remember, don't become public till you see them. So we don't have public comments on this yet. I did go ahead yesterday, where Mr. Markham was kind enough to do it for me because I was tied up, but we shared these with Ryan Hollingsworth at SSA and Sally Smith at AASB, and they both felt good about it. We did get some comments from Sally and I were able to talk last night actually, and they had one thing that they would like to see us change the wording on the last line. Again, that wouldn't offer any heartburn to me, but just where it says we'll review the policy annually, they don't really like the word annually because they're afraid the board somewhere down the road, if they review their policy, say on a 15-month cycle, and then somebody comes back and says, well, the code says you're supposed to do it annually, so we might change that to regularly or something like that. But she said they like this. It maintains local control, but it's also the board saying we really want you to look at not letting students use cell phones in the classroom. Now there is a code you see there. So 16.127 is an old law on the books that says that, and it addresses the use of electronic devices on school property, and says that every local school board is supposed to have a policy on it. So the difference would be that policy is wide open. The legislature just says you have to have some policy. What this resolution is doing is tightening it up and saying, and the board is suggesting that policy be to not allow their use in the classroom. But we're not able to go, as we talked about last month, beyond that, and we cannot issue a ban because the legislature has already said that is at the discretion of local school boards. And I don't think anybody, be clear for anybody listening out there, nobody on this board has said they want to issue a ban, but we do want local school boards to take a deep look at that. There's a lot of research out now about the harms that social media can cause to students, and particularly if they're engaged in that during the school day, how it distracts from the school learning experience. I think I did tell you last month that my mind runs together, but Montgomery County here has instituted a policy where they actually are banning them the whole school day. So also in the hallways, at PE, at lunch, they cannot have cell phones. It's been very well received by parents. the parents who talk to me, which is a lot of them. But I'm not saying it's all, certainly not all, 60,000 of them, but a significant number of folks have said to me they think that's a really good idea. So anyway, open for your discussion. What we would, the board would eventually have to pass something. So I want to say that, so it could be voted on in February, it could be voted on in March. You could say we don't want to address it anymore. But I do think it is an issue across the whole country. I appreciate all of you looking into it. I don't know how many of you have been able to talk to like superintendents and principals about it, because it's not really been the issue's been public, but the resolution's not been. In fact, I think Dr. Sibley said this morning I had like 4 interview requests today to talk about this resolution. It is the hot topic, but I denied all those, and I said, well, I'm not going to preempt the board's discussion before we actually have a chance to talk about it.
Dr. Mackey, this is a great resolution. We thank you for following through. And to date myself, that original policy dealt with pagers in school. And what the difference between pagers in school and cell phones, and cell phones is one aspect. We know that the modern computers that we carry around are well beyond what a cell phone is. And one of the discussions that we had in NASD was the difference between a technology phone and a flip phone. And when you talk about cell phones, we're talking about
Smartphones.
Pocket computers, smartphones, and the difference in that. And going back to when we were concerned as a superintendent about all these people with pagers going off, and that was dealt with illicit materials being communicated. So it's time we reapproach this, and I like this resolution.
I do have a question about how do we monitor? And I know that because we are a state board versus the legislature, as far as penalties and so forth, but I think that's the big issue. And I agree, I think this is the approach to take, because every system will be different, whether you're talking about Jasper or Montgomery County, and the needs are certainly very different in terms of even the schools within the system. And I think about schools where they would not even consider looking at their cell phone because they're so disciplined and focused, and they may be in a very competitive environment. So this is the last thing they want to see, thankfully, in the schools. But from that standpoint, how do we monitor it, whether they turn it in, and then also, are there any penalties, or if they don't have one, do we just nudge them to provide?
So it's a good question, 2 very good questions. Well, there's not a penalty. You're right about that. You're going with that. So a resolution doesn't carry like a penalty with it. So if you read the resolution, it's just encouraging boards to consider something. So if a board said, well, we're not going to do that, they would, there's really nothing there. I hope we don't have to see that attitude. We would work, AASB has a model policy. I know you talked to them, I think, about trying to get that out. We can certainly ask them for it, but again, if they don't write one, we don't really have anything. Now, another thing we could look at is addressing this legislation and trying to get a sponsor to address that, but that's another, the board could try to push a particular legislative agenda. I think then we have to decide what exactly, do we want the legislature to ban the use of cell phones? And if so, we can certainly, Tina would be glad to draw that up. We can do that. That's a little more of a discussion point, and I'm not blaming, you're not saying that, but, but that's more deep discussion if we actually want the legislature to beef up this act and take a different intent with it. And to be fair, then I would want to bring Sally Smith and Ryan Hollingsworth and their folks all back to the table, because they might not be as agreeable of that. I'm not saying they're for cell phones in the classroom. I think their members are big on that becoming a local decision. And here's the only thing I've heard, and only from one person, and it's not one of them, it's not anybody here at the board, is that, well, what if a teacher has a lesson where she really wants people to use their cell phone. And it could be a lesson about, we want to do an average of how many apps students have on their cell phone. That was the exact lesson that was brought to me. And so the teacher said, well, pull out your cell phone and count the number of apps that you have. Well, I don't want that teacher to get in trouble with their certification over that. I don't know that that's the best use of a lesson, but I don't think anybody thinks that teacher ought to get in trouble over that. So that's why I want us to be, a little cautious. Now, if you go as far as Montgomery County, it's very clear. You're not going to have a lesson like that because nobody has a cell phone in the room. But and I'm not opposed to that. I actually think that would be a good idea. But that is a step further than what this resolution proposes.
Well, that could be homework as far as looking at the
Yes,
number of apps.
absolutely.
I mean, there are all sorts of options
Right.
instead of, just picking it up. I couldn't tell you how many I had.
That was my question about this. I did my homework and I communicated with my superintendent. So, only because I saw it at the last minute, my note to do that. But every superintendent I talked with has a policy in District 6, and I've talked with, I'd say 80% of them. But their policies have an option that if the teacher directs students to use their cell phone in the classroom or gives permission for a student to use their cell phone in the classroom, then that's okay. And some of them have discipline associated with violating that policy. And the discipline in one case is the parent, they take it out, the parent comes and gets it and signs a notice that they had to do that, and the student signs. So that's a reminder that if you get caught with it the second time, then perhaps what will happen is you'll get 3 days at the alternative school or something like that. And then if you get caught a third time, it's a more strenuous discipline. And so, but every superintendent felt like their policy was okay. But every superintendent communicated that they have problems with cell phones.
I think that's the big thing for me is they may have a policy. All the superintendents I spoke with have a policy, but I think what we're asking is could you go back and review this policy and look at the studies that are out there. There are some districts, and I can't recall the name of the study, but I will find it, where they set a policy that you could have usage during a short period of time, like a reward during the day. And what the study showed is there was a tremendous drop-off and distraction in the classes following that break because there had been disturbing communications on the cell phone while the children were allowed to have that privilege during the day. And so I think by taking this step forward in this area, we're just asking, could you look at the data, look at the information that's out there that's being published now and how cell phone use, even a little bit during the school hours, is affecting your students, particularly the students that struggle in school, particularly our low performers are really struggling with having cell phone and then trying to pay attention in the classroom. And it's just, I think it's just a step in the right direction, if you will, to look at something, because for a while there, we were just, please have your cell phones out, use them, and everything was
Well, we
sort
didn't
of,
have one-to-one.
That's true. That was the difference then.
right.
And now that we have one-to-one devices, most of the time they can't get onto our secure networks. If they try to get on our network, it won't let them in. But most of those policies that are in place have an option that students can use them at school, just not in the instructional classes. They could use it maybe at lunch, or they can use it at a break. So are we saying we don't want to give them any opportunity to use a cell phone?
Now, that's what I was
At
gonna
school?
ask, because
But
most
that's
of
the
mine said the
local,
same thing.
if we
Local
follow this
control.
policy, it'd be local.
Wasn't there a follow-up or information from
who was it that we said is already banned at Montgomery or Birmingham?
Montgomery.
Was there not information shared that stated after they did this, they had a drop in discipline, they had a drop in the, I read 4 or 5 or 6 things, and this is from banning, and that's what they did. And because, you know, as we were saying, when they go out into the hallway, or, you know, just like they got rid of lockers, because they always had discipline at the lockers, they could go into the bathroom. And a lot of fights or discontent or discipline came from that usage.
I think Florida's data was
Florida.
staggering.
It was, but it was local, because I thought it was Montgomery that
It was
listed
in the
and people talk.
60%.
Yeah.
62%,
And it talks about
63%.
local, what happens with our kids, and I think that, it hit me hard when I read that, and I knew it, but I thought so.
In talking to parents, they found out that their child, or the students that they were in contact with, actually, it was one of those situations where habits were changed, and where, you know, we all as adults even check our text messages or whatever, but that was a big, to me, that was a good thing. But the other part is the fact that cell phones are often used to harass some of the nicer students.
Yeah. Dr. Matthew.
And they can say some of the meanest things.
I'm sorry, Ms. McCray's had her hand up for a few minutes. I'm sorry.
Yes, I wanted to know how it's working in Montgomery County. And the biggest complaint that I hear from parents is they're afraid there might be an emergency, like heaven forbid a shooting, and they want their children to be able to get in contact with them instantly. So how do we work around that?
So I can give just anecdotal data on that. So Montgomery County's ban was just this year. So they don't have like research studies, but again, in talking to parents, some of them are in the room, they do see, you know, that it's discipline's gotten better, distractions in the classroom have gotten better. But I have not seen anything like a report that says this. They have them lock them into a package that does not, it's a full pocket that blocks any signal coming in or out. So they just have no access until the end of the day. And it's, I believe, I'm correct, it's all day for them. So they don't allow it in lunch or the hallway or anything like that. But I've just lost the second part of your question. You asked about the emergencies. So that was the one pushback in Montgomery County early on from really a very small group of parents. And that's the exact thing. If there's an emergency, I want my child to be able to contact me. Now, when I've talked to law enforcement folks, they say that's the very reason they don't need to have them. Like, we do not want to get 200 911 calls and panicky people. Like, we need to be able to talk to the school leadership and let conversation go that way. So I understand that from parents. It's the same way Dr. Mills says shows his age. I'm going to show my age for a minute, because I do remember being a young person, as you all do, when there were no cell phones. And the expectation, I remember my father telling me, if your car ever breaks down, you ever have trouble, you go to the nearest house, knock on the door, and very politely ask to use the phone and call me. I have given my sons, of course they're grown now, the exact opposite advice. Never go knock on the door. And always have your cell phone with you. So our society has flipped in 40 years. And so things are different. And then I say that to say, Ms. McCray, parents now expect to be able to get in touch with their child at every minute of the day. And if they send the child a message and the child doesn't respond within 10 minutes, and that, unfortunately, is part of our problem in schools. Parents are texting their kids during the day, and if they don't hear back, the parent panics and they call the principal. So, yes, I get that from the parent perspective, but I actually think that we would be doing a service to to parents too, to say, you know what, we got your child in school, and if there's an emergency, we'll contact you. But otherwise, let's cut off that contact with your child during the day. Now, parents who are listening to me, some of them are jumping up right now. They're probably calling Leanne because I know that that's hard to do. Because we had one parent that was just adamant here in Montgomery County that kept calling the department in opposition to that local policy, and we kept sending them back to the local district. But that was the argument. That was their concern. That seems, after a couple of weeks, to have all kind of gone away. But I think you can't delegitimize that concern. You do have to at least listen to parents and understand where they're coming from. But I don't agree with it necessarily.
Dr. Mackey,
Personally.
one of the things, I was in contact with my superintendents, and they all have policies. But every one of them thought that there could be some more improvement in that policy. But after your article appeared, I got lots of them to call and say, how did Montgomery get away with that? Because they won't, some of them would like to do that, but they don't, with all the things we've been talking about, they like to have mine, and I can give you the names, want to know what model and how we, the state board, could help them to emulate that, because that is the extreme to what we're doing in many places are nothing. And actually, the way some of our parents operate, my daughter particularly, she can tell everywhere her children is because they're on the cell phone plan, and the locator, they can. So there's a lot of interesting things to do with it.
Yes, sir.
I would personally be very interested in hearing Montgomery County talk about, I know you can talk about it, but they're the forefront of all that stuff. And that's in your school district. I mean,
In my district too.
yeah, I
we
know.
share it.
All of our districts.
I have a lot of friends who teach.
All of our districts are affected by what Montgomery County, in your article and what we did last board meeting, they heard those things, and some said, how did you get that done?
Well,
Do you think we could get?
And I don't, and I'm not, that's a rhetorical question, not a question.
yes, sir. We could probably get Dr. Brown or somebody with his staff to come talk, if you want to, next month and kind of explain where they are. I'd be glad to do that. As you know, we're going to be in a couple of his schools. I know that's for later in the day to discuss, but for the retreat. So if you've not met him, you'll get to meet him. He's a fantastic school thinker and leader. And to your point, Dr. Reynolds, it's not as serious as cell phone usage, I realize, but you know, I've won battles and lost battles in my life, and one that I lost was over school uniforms, because I'm just a fan of school uniforms, but parents, when I brought it up, were not. And we didn't go with school uniforms many years ago, early in my career. But I was a parent in Montgomery County when they decided to go from your regular dress code to school uniforms. And I watched children cry about having to wear school uniforms, and parents nearly riot about it. But
do they still use them?
They still have school uniforms because they held the line for about 30 days, and that's all it took. People moved on.
And then the children loved it because they didn't have to think about what to wear. Because I was one of those parents where I thought, well, you know, it's more of, you need to, as a parent, decide what your child is going to wear when they go out the door, and make sure they don't change before they get to school.
Birmingham City did it while I was
And then
there.
our girls weren't thrilled, but then they liked it.
But they used to.
It made it's like,
So, and it's a different topic, but I think it is kind of the same thing. It's a big change,
It is.
but it is something people can get used to in time.
It takes time. And change is never usually widely embraced.
So we would agree if we can have Dr. Brown or one of his staff come and speak with us. And then, Dr. Mackey, do you think it would be appropriate for Ms. Hammonds to maybe let the leadership and the education committees know what we're doing? And just in case because we did have legislators at the Excel and Ed conference that also received the same reports and information. And if they were thinking of crafting legislation, maybe they would appreciate us taking the opportunity to work through this process first, and so that they can focus on other things. I know that they've got a number of things that they've said they're working through. So maybe that's a good idea.
Okay.
Is there something that can be added, since we'll be in Montgomery County anyway, to our agenda for the retreat? Because this is the type of thing that the retreat was created
Well, Dr.
for.
Brown will be there, we can add
Why don't we
that
just do
to our
that?
discussion.
That way you can
That's
have
a great
idea. Answer all of these questions regarding candidates.
And not only that, save him time from
Point
having to
well
come back
taken.
here.
back.
Yeah.
Great,
That's a great idea.
We can do that.
Thank y'all so much for your input.
I think, yes, good time to break.
So this is a great time to break for lunch. We've been taking, oh yes.
I'm sorry,
so
just one
sorry.
last thing. I just wanted to applaud in the crafting of this,
Yes, ma'am.
the point that whatever the local district does, training needs to be provided for the teachers
Absolutely.
and the staff.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to applaud you all on that, because oftentimes people will implement things, but those who gotta really go out and enforce it are not trained. Okay.
It is 11:50 now. We've been taking 45 minutes for lunch each month, so we'll be back in 45 minutes. And Dr. Chestnut will be in my role this afternoon. I've got to step away, but I thank you all today for your hard work. Have a great lunch.
Board members, you see when you get up there, lunch has changed a little bit. I did something special for the board, so
The next item on the agenda is the resolution in recognition of elementary best of show 2024 state superintendent visual art exhibit. Dr. Mackey.
So Andy Meadows, Andy will come up to the table. There are this one, and then you'll see there are actually 4 related resolutions to do with arts education month, and so we're gonna let Andy stay here for all 4 of those and just discuss those. If you start with the elementary show.
Sure, okay, the elementary show, best of show, you'll notice that there are no names because the adjudication will not happen. We're collecting the work next week. The adjudication will be happening on the 22nd of January, and then our goal is to always notify the school system, and everybody by the 31st of January. These resolutions are all being read now because we will be presenting them the Wednesday prior to the March meeting, so they have to be approved at the February board meeting because we're doing them right before the March meeting. Same, we still have the plans of doing it there. So this is just the elementary resolution recognizing best of show.
We're still going to do something on the day before the board meeting.
That is correct, yes. At the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, we're still.
What's that?
What's that day?
Yeah, what's the date?
It's,
Get a room.
it's the Wednesday prior to the March board meeting.
That would be March.
Had that pulled up.
13th, could I possibly be right?
I think it's
I
right.
think that sounds right. That's correct.
13th.
Okay.
Okay. I know you'll send it to us, but I like to write it down.
We have
And
that.
that's is it at the evening? Did you
Well,
say?
we usually do it after their school fest performance, so we'll have a light reception prior to for about an hour
Okay.
as people come in, and then we'll move into the ceremony. We try to get them out by 3 or 3:30.
Okay.
Dr. Mackey had something last year he needed to attend, so we pushed it back a little bit. The goal is to try to get them out as quickly as possible for those that have to travel a large distance, can get back.
That's the
We
day
won't,
before.
yeah, and
Will
that
it be at
just,
Shakespeare as well?
Yes, now the artwork will not be at Shakespeare.
Okay.
But now there is one change. We have flip-flopped when the artwork is going to go on display at the Capitol. That way, when students travel in, so the elementary show will be on display in February, and the secondary show will be on display in March. We're going to flip-flop that every year so that as winners come in, or people that tend, or teachers that tend to have winners, they have an opportunity every other year to swing by the Capitol first, maybe see the artwork, and then go.
and then last year, you may remember, it was because it was the first year of our quadrennium, the legislature also started their meeting on the day we were doing this. It got all confusing. We won't have that this year. So I won't be dropping any last minute surprises on you trying to move things around. This year will be.
Okay.
It'll be something else.
Right, well, yeah, I should not promise that, I guess. But
You never know.
No.
And brace yourself.
And then the other one is best of show for secondary. I can't remember how long ago, but we posed this to the Alabama Art Education Association. We used to not award elementary students, and they voted to have them have awards, and so we've kind of made accommodations, and it's grown over the years. We collect around 750 works and get them on display, rotating them in and out of the Capitol. Then the other resolution, 24 Annual Superintendent's Visual Arts Exhibit, those are the people that win first, second, third, and honorable mention. So those are resolutions for them.
Okay.
And then the final one is just March is Arts Education Month in Alabama schools.
Yeah.
Any comments about any of the arts resolutions, 6, 7?
I think it's wonderful. My grandson got to exhibit when he was in 2nd grade. I love it.
It's one of my favorite things is hearing the dancers and all that, and then going over to the Capitol and looking at the wonderful exhibits. But they're so cute.
The only change you'll see is we do have new art walls. We finally retired the art walls that we had. The fabric was coming off, so we did make an investment in that. We really like the walls, so that'll be one little thing that's different. So the design may look somewhat different.
That's all right.
And we have Montgomery Public Schools and Wetumpka Public Schools are coming and help us hang the art show.
Oh, great. Good experience.
Great work.
And remind me, I know we've talked about this, but it's been several weeks, so we are gonna bring back the music on Thursdays in February, March, so that'll be something at our February, March meetings. We'll also.
You should have gotten a
take a
copy
break
of the
and do
poster.
that.
Yes.
Okay, they're out.
I got them yesterday, so.
Very excited.
And then we'll have the dancers in April. Good. We don't have that calendar yet.
Love that.
Glad you added that.
Any other comments?
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Item number 10, resolution of distinguished recognition for the 2024 National School Counselor of the Year, Dr. Diana Virgil, Daleville High School, Daleville City School System.
So we will recognize her. I hope she's able to be here next month. This was, I mean, she is the National Counselor of the Year. They had a ceremony in December. It was a surprise, a big, like the whole, whole town was there. And Miss West was able to go down for that, but she was surprised. Mr. Stevens back there was with them, and it was a big day. So I don't know, but I hope she's able to be with us next month. And that's, of course, huge to have a national counselor.
That's wonderful.
I don't know her. I'm not going to say I've never met her because we might have met in circles. I don't really know her, but from what I understand, she's fabulous. John, is that true?
Yes, sir. She's been in Alabama just for a few years. She originally came from Alabama, and then her husband's in the military, so they've been placed in Mississippi and in Georgia. But she's been back in Alabama for several years, and she's really, really a superstar in our state right now. And it was a tremendous honor, a surprise. They came from D.C. just to honor her. Miss West was there. The whole town was there. The mayor. It was a really awesome, awesome event.
So it's also, counseling, you'll see. I'm sorry, I won't get us ahead, but it'll be a nice way to celebrate our counselors and do that.
Great lead-in for counselors.
So it's Alabama School Counseling Week. So I thought if we can get her here and recognize her, and it's during the School Counseling Week, it'll just be a nice time to focus on the role school counselors play.
They were certainly needed a good recognition. They've had enough difficulty.
That's true. They have a lot of work on them. Of course, most of them carry all of our testing load at local schools too. So just be a nice time to kind of celebrate them. And Dr. Sibley is building some. You saw that he's got a PR plan for 2024, and in that week he's got some special things to just try to uplift counselors across the state for that.
That's exciting. What a distinguished honor to have someone to be recognized at the national level. And so we're excited, and just great timing to have it come. Doing Alabama School Counseling.
Just tell her she has
Week.
to be here, that's all.
Yeah.
She has
I'm
to be
sure
here.
she will be.
I think she will.
So February, in the capital, February 8th, is that when we're gonna have our performance in the, with the Grissom Band?
Yeah.
We will, that's right.
I'm sorry.
I don't have the.
Yes, you're right.
And so we'll take a break.
That's a
We'll
big
figure out
band.
how to do it. We normally try to, we do 11:15 show here, and then they do 12:15 at the Capitol. I know one year we tried walking everybody to the Capitol too, but that's really hard on y'all. So we'll go up for the 11:15 for sure in February. We'll do that again in March and in April for the dance. So there'll be 3 months, and it'll be a little bit different lunch, and we'll have a little longer break, but it'll be something nice to do. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any comments beyond what we've talked about concerning the counselors week? If not, we'll go on to the resolution proclaiming February 1 through 29 as Alabama Career and Technical Education Month.
So we'll have, again, Career Tech Month is really big. We will have a special presentation too. That'll kind of be a long meeting. It'll be fun, I think, because we'll have the Grissom Chamber Choir. We usually have an FFA quartet or band or something that comes to the meeting, and they are planning on coming again this year. So it'll be a long musical day, but it'll be nice to celebrate a lot of students. And we'll do some other special things around Career Tech Month. So that will be, anyway, I know this is just adoption of a resolution, but there will be a lot more that comes with that resolution. And then one of the things we've been asked about is, if y'all want to go visit school programs, they would love to have you come visit some Career Tech Center. I mean, of course, anytime they would, but I know in February they'd like to do that especially.
So if we wanted to visit, would we reach out to you, or what would be the
If you
protocol?
do, we, if you got a particular school you want to go to, just certainly, just, you know that the contact them, that'd be fine. If you want to reach out to us though, then yes, Dr. Cole set it up. He or some of his staff, they'll be glad to, they can find something that you want to go see in your area too, if you want to do that, or see multiples. He would love to set those up. And he is going to come and give us just kind of a state of the state of career tech during next month's work session too, since it's career tech month.
Any other feedback concerning career tech month? The next item on the agenda, resolution and recognition of legislative school performance program award. Dr. Mackey.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so this, Miss Washington and Miss Martin may have to help me with this a little bit, but as you know, these are these embargoed still?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. You see them, but they're not public. So next month, they will become public during the board meeting. So you have to, this is like a Christmas surprise. You have a secret you have to hold for a month. But we'll make them public then. And as you can see, there's a lot of them. How we've done this in the past is a lot of them tune in because they want to know if they are going to win, but they don't actually come. But then we'll have those awards that you can send out. Now that can be changed, but that's how we've done it in the past. It's kind of a big reveal to them. But we recognize the top 25% and the 25 most improved schools in the state. And the legislature does, they created this in the law, and so it's called the legislative School Performance Award Program. They do get a little bit of money that goes with that. I think the total is $250,000.
$250,000.
And so how much money they gets, depends on how many schools are in there. But it's how much?
One group is 8,000 and the other group is 2,000.
Which group? Which one?
Top 25 probably.
8,000 is the most improved. 2,000 goes to the top 25, and that's based upon, those percentages are kind of based upon what's in the law. 20% of the total $250,000 must go to the top 25, and then the remaining of that amount goes to those most improved schools. So that's how we come up with that amount.
And that's recognizing the growth. When we think of the most improved, that is the ones that are really growing and struggling from where they were.
Which basically means they had to move a better grade in order to qualify, at least one better grade in order to qualify.
And this is part of, it's in the law, that is the school report card law that lays out how all that happens. And so it's, as we talked about, and Ms. West mentioned this morning, we've had lots more. Everybody gets nervous about the report card. Superintendents certainly do. We've had lots more positive than negative. Lots of people posted on their pages, their social media pages about it. And so they'll all be excited about this too. I am thrilled. I know I said this last year that when the legislature conceived this, they did include most improved. Because you see some schools in there that are very, very high poverty. There's one of these schools that I think 100% of their children are in poverty, and they're in the most improved list. So it's a chance for some people to shine, or some schools to shine that don't always get to shine. Yes.
In a situation like that, I would imagine that includes most of the students who were there before, so to follow through. In other words, there's not an influx of new students. Is that part of the consideration for most improved schools? Some of these would be open to having some new students who were not there before. Do they follow the students from 1 year?
You know that, so when we calculate most improved, is it like student to student match, or is it just like, so if I'm looking at second grade to third grade, is it student to student match so that those students have to be in that school both years, or it's just looking at the second grade overall scores. I don't know. And I don't know if y'all know.
It's looking at the student improvement, but that student would have had to be in that school for the majority of their time in order to count toward that school. In this case, it would be over 80% of that time should be in that particular school, so that's the reason why we would use that particular student's record. Because they would have been taught the majority of the period of time in that particular school.
It's called full academic year students.
Yeah.
Full academic year students.
So we only count growth. When you see that anything that's the growth, that calculation only comes from students who've been there for the majority of the year. And did you say it's 80% of the year?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I just had that somebody asked me that question
Good
about one of the
question.
schools and in particular, and I'll have to check because I didn't know.
No, that's a very good question.
That
is a great question.
So now I have to thank you. And we all do, thank you.
So we'll do the big reveal, and then we'll get their resolutions to them. I don't remember how we did that last year, but
We invited them last year.
we did invite them. So we can.
invited them last year.
Oh, so it's not going to be embargoed until that day. When is it unembargoed?
We basically, after this meeting, we'll be notifying them.
Oh, good. So they can
And then
come.
we'll invite them along with the superintendents, along with the school principals, and then of course, like last year, some of our board members as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So, thank you, Ms. Washington. So I stand corrected. It's not embargoed. So now, they're give them a little time so they can notify them. But then within a few days, if you want to talk to these principals or superintendents, you'd be welcome to do that. Encourage them to come. That would be great.
That'd be great. Embargo right now.
I'm glad I asked that question.
Well, just let us know the release date.
Yes.
That we can say something.
Give us a Tuesday.
Give us a Tuesday.
Give us the Tuesday.
Yes,
No.
give us the holiday. We'll consider it tomorrow. Maybe
We were just talking about, a few
Maybe
minutes
Wednesday,
ago. I'm
really.
afraid many of them are not going to be in tomorrow.
So we'll just wait to hear from them.
I guarantee they'll be calling us when
Oh,
they
yes,
win.
no doubt about it.
Susan,
no, I know.
One of
that.
mine's already called us.
Any other
They-
discussion?
They will know that I know now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exciting that they'll be here. That's, I think, important.
So we'll have a lot of people in February. I remind you, I know we'll go on the next item, but as I said, we're going to have the art stuff. We'll have these folks here. That will also be the second day of the legislative session. So I know last year we invited legislators to come over too on that day. Not many of them could make it because they were doing some organizational stuff, but we'll invite them again. Miss Tina and Connor will just let them know and hopefully get some of them over here too for that portion of our meeting at least.
We'll have a full house.
Boy,
We will.
Might need more chairs.
The next item, item 14, the school choice options for priority schools. Dr. Mackey?
We'll jump right into that. Miss Washington's going to come up. I don't know why I didn't just make her come up here or invite her up earlier. This is something, of course, since the report card came out, we've had some questions about this. So she's going to go through these. These are the documents that you got. There's no new documents here. It's what you got in your email before that went to superintendents. I do want to make a couple of comments before Ms. Washington talks about this. One is to remember the report card this year went out later than normal. Now, you remember that the report card law has been on the books for many years. The first report card that was issued was in 2018, and that was one of my commitments, is that we would issue a report card because the legislature had been really hot about it, been in law for years, and none had never been issued. So we did that, but we got it out, I believe, on December the 31st. And I remember, I think Dr. Boyd worked every day over the holidays except Christmas Day maybe to get that done because we were building it still. But since then, we have gotten the protocols in place to release it in November. This year we had 3 districts whose data they discovered really late. They had not corrected and cleaned up their data, so their report card grade was going to be lower than it should have been. And we reopened the portal and let them, so how we have to do that, we don't clean their data, but we can reopen the portal and allow them to clean their data. So we did that, and that was probably in like September, but what happens is around September, maybe, but it throws everything off then. So I notified the superintendents at the October meeting that everything was going to be delayed about 4 weeks. And I didn't tell them which 3 districts, but just so y'all know, we required the superintendent and the board president to sign a letter saying that it was on them that their data were not correct and that they were requesting an opportunity to fix it. So we want the data to be accurate, but we also want it to be clear that the delay was not on the department, the delay was on the districts. Now, I'm not going to go out and say who they are. I didn't tell the other superintendents who they were, but I did say, if you do that, we're not only going to make you say that you're requesting it, but your board president's going to have to request to be open. So we did that. Those 3 got cleaned up, but it caused it to be delayed. Our intention is that we'll go back to releasing it before Thanksgiving this year. That's been our commitment, and that's what we want to do. And those superintendents, I think we've got the glitch that they found. What happened was they didn't verify. They signed off they had verified their data, but they were wrong. And they had, in most cases, what had happened is they had somebody at the high school to sign off on the data, and they didn't have enough protocols in place to make. I think somebody just didn't look at it and sign it. So those superintendents now have assured us they put new processes in place, and we got to talk. We got to make sure that they're constantly doing that. It's a lot of data, so that's why I don't want to throw superintendents under the bus when they have to do that, because it's a lot of data to verify. And if you've got 6 high schools and somebody makes a mistake at one of them, and you're going to hold up the whole state report card, that is a call you do not want to make to Eric Mackey. But also, you owe it to your school, to your community, that you have accurate data, that you don't show that you're a C school when you're really a B. So
mistakes happen.
So we're going to work through it. We're all ready for the verification for this coming November. We've already had a superintendent realize kind of the same mistake, their data. But see, we caught it now, a year ahead, so we're not catching it at the end. So I feel better about the process. I only mention that because it's been a little confusing this year to people, as I mentioned earlier, about the timing. And so they're not sure what these data, where did they come from? So we came out a little late. These are the same data that we released last September that the report card is based on as far as the testing data. The graduating class is before that. So there's always, the graduating class is a year in arrears. So it takes a lot to pull all that together. And then my last comment before Ms. Washington takes over is the one consistent issue that I keep hearing, I've heard from most all of you and from superintendents and other people, is this chronic absenteeism, that their absenteeism rates are atrocious. And you will see if you looked in the report card, in some cases, districts, I know one of them for sure because I looked deep into it, they were over 30% of their kids were chronically absent, which means they missed 10% of the school year. And you just can't teach kids if they're not at school. So I think that is something, I know that y'all put extra money in the budget request for Helping Families Initiative. We know that if the school district and the district attorney's office are really working closely, we've demonstrated they can lower that significantly. But it's up pretty much every district and every school across the state. I hope it's down this year, but on that report card, it's much higher than it was the year before. So that's going to continue to be a concern, I think. I don't know where that came from, and I'm going to sound a little smart-alecky here, but I'll be quick on my smart-aleckiness in my last comment. So I turn over to Ms. Washington. Literally, when I was a principal, one of my biggest issues this time of year was parents who would would just stuff their kids with Tylenol and send them to school with the flu. And by 11 o'clock, they were running a fever again, and we were calling parents trying to get them to come get them. It was like anything they could do to get their kids out of the house and to school. And we've got so many parents that it's a different attitude now. Like their kids are well and they don't make them go to school. And I literally don't understand it. It's just a very, it's a different something I don't get. So I know, the mayor in Birmingham's been very vocal about the issues there and trying to get kids to school. But it has been very difficult in many communities. So, and we've seen it at summer school too. I mentioned that back earlier, I know in the year, but the same issues about attendance in summer school. So those are my commentary things. So Miss Washington can talk about real stuff. She's the master.
Okay, so the topic of conversation, first of all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The topic of conversation is about school choice options for priority schools. We touched a little bit upon this in the previous sessions when we looked at the code and had to revise the code itself. But today, you should have received as part of your packet several documents that we sent out to the districts to ensure that they are knowledgeable about the priority, the options, to make certain that they are doing what they are supposed to do within the LEA, and ensuring that the parents receive what they need to in order to make certain choice options for their students if they are attending a school, or even if they are about to, their students are about to attend a school that has been identified as a priority school. Just as a reminder, priority schools now are schools that now have a D or an F on the state report card. And that being so, we're talking about 206 schools across the state that are now priority schools. So as a result, last month after we calculated the report cards ratings, we then notified those superintendents who actually had schools within their districts, letting them know that they have priority schools within their district and what they needed to do in reference to that. Not only did we send them the documents that you have, we also did some virtual meetings to inform them of this, along with giving them an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have concerning this. So what I really want to kind of hone in on is the fact that if you have a child that will be attending a school that is a priority school for the 2024-2025 school year, then they have an opportunity to either remain at that school, that's one of the options. They have an opportunity to attend another school within that school district, or they have an opportunity to transfer outside of the school district if that in-school district option is not available. And of course, they have that fourth option, which means that they can go to a non-public school. And as you well know, if they do go to that non-public school, they are afforded an opportunity to see if they qualify for a tax break as a result of that. And that is all within the law itself. We ask the school districts to ensure that they notify the parents, and this year it was January the 16th, which is coming, is approaching us very rapidly. Actually, that's next week. By that time period of the fact that that particular school is a priority school and that they have the opportunity, they go ahead and let them know which schools they can transfer to within that school district at that time, and give them an opportunity to fill out a form, and which was all part of your packet. That form would afford them to fill it out, submit it back to the school district, and then what they do is we ask them to make sure that we receive copies of those forms, so that we know like how many students are actually, which districts are offering what choice for which schools, and also that lets us know, how many possibly may be going outside of the district. That's kind of an accountability measure that has been put in place at the department itself. So that's kind of the process, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but are there any specific questions that you may have of the packet or anything that I just discussed concerning choice options?
Those that transfer out to another school system, is dependent upon if the school system has availability.
That is correct. So
Mhm.
on that form, there is a place for a signature from that outside superintendent authorizing, saying that that particular student can can attend that particular school district.
And if there is room, the money from where that child left, that district follows that child to that district.
That is correct.
State money or the local money or all money?
That would be state money.
State money.
State money, not the local money.
Right,
County money.
right. Because it's basically what's the only thing that's really happening, to be quite honest with you, is the fact that those students have then been counted in the allocation, the counts that the school district will receive anyway. Because they are now a part of that particular school district at that point in time.
Okay.
And transportation is not afforded to any of those students who are going outside of the district. But if they choose a school within the district, that local education agency, they are responsible for transportation for that student.
Thank you.
I have a related question. Having gone through all this federal impact data, will we, or is each school system with their parents required to, are the parents, is there a check to make sure the parents return or not return the form?
Yes, sir.
Because I guess as I look at the systems I have in my district, all have options.
Yes.
There are no systems that have only one school. They're all, so I want to feel comfortable that each of those parents, just like we do with school impact data for federal, will return those forms, that they will get those forms back.
Yes, sir. So
Because-
the students are required to fill the form out, and if the option is to remain in that school, they have to check off that they would like to remain at that school. So they're getting a form regardless
And the
of their
school
option.
system will make, if the parent just doesn't fill out the form, there's gonna be some recontact. You understand what my concern is?
Yes, sir.
I don't like, I wouldn't see the student suffering because the parent just didn't fill out the form or didn't care. Because some of that is a reality. That's the reason they're failing schools in some cases.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know what mechanism we have to do that.
So the districts ensure that they know specifically who will be attending the school the next year, because it's all contingent upon the next year. The parent is supposed to return the form by March the 1st, and so they start reaching out to parents if the forms are not in by a certain point, but definitely by the March 1st deadline date, so that they can ensure that they have a form for each child that shall be attending that school for the upcoming
So
school
if
year.
kids, if they don't have forms, then they're responsible for getting a form for every child.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
That is correct.
That's my concern, that somewhere along the line, the principal or the teacher or the superintendent will have a form for every child in those failing schools.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're
That's,
Any other questions?
I have a question. I don't know whether to address it to you. I was reading over the code and I noticed that they changed the amount that would be provided as a scholarship for elementary students. I think initially it was 6,000, middle school 8,000, and high school 10. And now all students, whether they're elementary or middle school, they're saying will receive 10,000. Would love to know, about the change there. And then also, what was the rationale? I see where they talked about the percent of poverty level, that it went from 185 to 250% of the federal poverty level. Is that to include more students? What's the rationale behind the changes?
All those were legislative changes.
Right, I didn't know
So-
whether they shared it with you.
They didn't share with
Well,
me, I don't know.
They didn't really share with us either. I will, but I can kind of address that. I'm not sure why. So first, the step system in the amount of scholarship money available for elementary, middle school, and high school. I don't know why it was ever done that way. I'd remind you just a little history that, remember the AAA was the bill that was passed in the middle of the night that nobody had read other than possibly two, one House and one Senate member, I understand. Everybody else I've ever talked to said they never saw it until they had to vote on it. So I don't know. I can't say that they did or didn't. I know I did not see it until it had passed. And so we don't know why some of those things were done. It has been amended 3, 4, or 5 times, multiple times. And so, but I know this. One of the complaints perennially from the scholarship granting organizations and some of the private schools was that students would get to the end of a grade and they were getting, you had to get from, I don't remember where the mark was, I think from between 4th and 5th grade maybe, or 5th and 6th, and all of a sudden you could get more money. And then it ended up 10,000 at high school. And so they, for years, complained that they wanted one number all the way through. And so I think, though I was not in any of the discussions, that probably legislators, when they decided they were going to do a major overhaul, just said, we'll go with one number. And they obviously chose the largest number, not an average. The other number was about just what you said. It's about casting a wider net. So there, another complaint from many of the schools was there were two dates in there, and one was that only the students in the identified schools, now priority schools, and they could apply for the scholarships up to a certain date. Originally it was May 15th, and then after May 15th, other students could apply, and there became a window where it was open to everybody. So they wanted more students to be able to apply earlier. Again, another complaint they had was that the vast majority of students did not apply in the first window. So in other words, extremely small number of the scholarships go to the students who are identified in a priority school. They actually go to students who are not in a priority school, but they had to wait till later in the summer to apply. And so then the schools and scholarship granting organizations said that didn't give them enough time to do all the paperwork to get the scholarships ready for students to start in August. So for years, they have been about, can we cast a wider net earlier? So I think that's one of the reasons that they wanted to expand, the number of schools that would be identified as priority schools. So we went from 53 to like 250 because they widened the definition, broadened the definition, and then broadened the scope of, went from, it was 185% of the federal poverty rate to 250. So there are a lot more students who qualify for the scholarships a lot earlier, and the scholarship cap went up significantly. Now, I do know from conversations I had last year with some legislators, there were legislators, I'm not going to speak for the body, who felt like doing all these changes answered all the questions about school choice that anybody had. Like we're casting a wider net, we're putting more money into it, we're including more schools, and so this is a response to we need a wider school choice bill. But as you know, there's another school choice bill probably coming this year too. So it did those things, but I think there'll be, when we don't know for sure, we haven't seen a bill, but the bills we saw introduced later in the session last year don't address that. So they're not these hurdles you have to go through. They're just school, voucher kind of bills. So, and we're not the only state, by the way, that has that may have multiple kind of voucher scholarship laws. The bill that did not pass last year, I know I'm getting deeper now than your question asked, but it made it clear that, or one of the bills, that students could not stack scholarships. So you couldn't go get a $10,000 scholarship through this bill, under what Ms. Washington's talking about, and then get another $10,000 scholarship off of the other bill. Like you had to choose which one you're going to apply under. And again, we haven't seen a bill for this year, so I don't know, but that's one of the things that I would strongly advocate, is that we don't allow people to stack, because you can get into really spending huge amounts of money on small number of students. Our average expenditure per student now is at 69, I think it's 69.60, so it's a little under $7,000 per child of state funds, right?
State foundation money.
Right, state foundation funds. Our average, and that is very, very careful talking about average because there are no average children. But when you just take all the money and divide it by all the children, it's about 69.60, just a little under $7,000. So, just again, in my personal opinion, just speaking for me, if you let people stack scholarships and they're taking a $20,000 scholarship out, but if they stay in the public schools, you're only going to spend $69.90 or $69.60 on them. That just doesn't, that can't be right. So, and I think most people I talk to get that. So that's a very long answer to a very simple question. My apologies.
But it was a great answer. You answered my question. Any other questions? Comments?
I think this was our answer, the department's answer. The board didn't take a position, but I think it's a very good answer to the concept of school choice. And I read a recent article where you were quoting extensively, and I appreciate your article. Might have been controversial, but it was a well-done article. And your reflection on what the Price Act was. And I know that we're limited in compliance with the law on the report card. But subsequent to Dr. Vander's fantastic presentation last month, I asked for data on schools by the achievement level. Because when I looked at the data that we presented, our achievement score compared to our overall score was dramatically different. And I know the law now does not allow us to deal with schools that have lower academic achievement. And I know there are schools that I looked at, school systems. I didn't go by schools, but because I didn't want to delve into that because Dr. Vanderbilt, it does a good job. But I know there are school systems whose academic achievement is very much lower than the report card. And I know we don't have a mechanism to approach that yet, but perhaps that can be part of our approach to the legislature and within the system as we have availability to provide assistance. And I know Dr. Mackey and each board member got that data, and then it got it summarized in rank order. And I have a district, but I have concerns system-wide about those schools whose academic achievement, I know the report card encompasses, and many are complaining about or concerned about having attendance as even computed, but the fact that academic achievement is only 20% of the report card may be a concern to me, because, if my child went to school every day and he did real well and he made an A, that would make me feel better. And that's a comment. And I don't know what we can do, but I know that there are legislators and individuals that I serve and that have contacted me that are concerned about those academic achievement data as Washington.
Well, as it relates to the academic achievement and any of the indicators, what we do is so you'll know, even though the report card may have a letter grade sitting there, when we support the districts, what the Office of School Improvement does and with other sections as well, they don't just look at the letter grade, they look at each indicator and to see specifically where the school is, and that is what they use to drive their continuous improvement plans and all of that. So they really break it down to look specifically at the area in which that particular school is in need of. For the public per se, they may look just at the letter grade, but we look here at the department, look at each and every indicator measure for that particular school in our school district, and then drive the supports around that support. And in some cases, we don't even look at what's weighted. We actually strip it down to actual raw proficiency numbers, so we know specifically without any weights applied at all. We look at raw data to see where those schools are and where the district overall and where the state is, to make certain we're making, data-driven decisions. So I appreciate you taking the time to look to see all of that. I just wanted you to know, in addition to any concerns you may have, we do break it down. We don't look at it as a holistic measure. We look at it by indicator and ensuring that we also strip it down to the raw data.
Is there a parent-friendly or even teacher-friendly or local school-friendly way to put it on the website so that it can be, say research, but that all of those that I just mentioned can actually look at it and understand it better without getting into the more sensitive issues of potentially sensitive issues like privacy and so forth? Because that actually, I think is fairly common, that people don't understand what that means. And when you release it in a report card and your system makes whatever letter grade that's already been mentioned, they don't understand that it's broken down in the way that it is. I think it would be helpful for us to say, look at the website as board members, trying to explain it. If you're in person, they look at you like, what are you talking about? It's a foreign language. But if they can actually take the time to look at it and we have a place where we can send them, I think it would be helpful to all of us. And some of that is required by law, some federal government. But that's the other part that probably needs to be explained. It's not something we just arbitrarily came up with, but we also have to meet those specific requirements for each one. But I think it would be helpful. I think that's a very valid point in terms of misunderstanding, and it's not necessarily as much a lack of communication as that they don't understand it. It's not easy to, if you're in an education, for example. Even if you're in education, though, we still have those conversations.
I think that one, we have, to your point, I completely agree. Parents don't, it is a hard thing. It's hard for me to understand.
It's just not parents,
But
it's
teachers. But one of the things we've got to get people back to look at the report on the website. It has been updated and it's a lot more clear than it used to be. And there's a lot more than the top. We've got too many people that are looking and they look at the top. There's a big, there's an A, there's a C, there's a D or whatever. But if you scroll, there's actually 3 pages worth of data, and each of those, you click on them, they go to more data. So there's a lot of information. It's almost too much information, but getting people to scroll down. So we can share that link directly with y'all now if you want to share it out. But
Dr. Vanderbilt went over it with me online, and that's why I sent some of those copies to you, where you get the scrolls and you're absolutely right. That's what, and I thank you for giving me credit for looking into it. But I just called Dr. Vanderbilt, and he guided me through a lot of that incidents. And that's why the data and what you're saying is very important for us to try to deal with those persons who look down on us, like the legislature, that we're just not dealing with the A, B, C, D, F, that we're doing what you said. And that's what I've tried to communicate to people that have asked me. I said, no, it's just not that letter grade at the top. We are looking at the academic achievement as a critical measure beyond just its 20% value in our report card. And it's an opportunity for improvement, and it is a way to answer some of those persons who don't look as favorable illness as they should in the efforts that we're putting forward. They just look at the outcome results. And that's some of the premise between school choice. We're doing better than we've ever done before. Dr. Mackey and his staff are doing exemplary work, and explaining the data and what our efforts are is important. And I'm not critical, I'm just analytical. And I appreciate your answers to my questions.
What we'll do is go back and take another look at what we have provided on our website as it relates to like our, what we call our technical guides and information on how to look at the report cards. We are in the process, we never stop, and that's why this work is continuous. We never just stop at stop doing something and say, okay, we're good with it. We're continuously trying to make improvements. So we will take what you just stated about the parent piece and try to see if we can come up with something that may be a little bit more parent-friendly on the explanation part of it.
That would be wonderful.
And
Help
I
all
was
of
just
us.
thinking the other part may be helpful too is a video that could also
There you go.
explain
I
it.
agree.
Once we
There you
get the
go. I agree.
document, we can also produce a video that would also help those parents.
Excellent, and you could perhaps recruit someone who calls in and say, will you help us?
Yeah, come over here
Will you
and
look
tell
at
us.
this and provide some feedback? That's always helpful.
Yes, we have a cadre of people, we just, ones that have been in this work for a while and LEAs, and we always run something by them, do kind of a test.
Get the
before
man
we
off
put
the
something
street. Yeah,
out.
the person
Yes.
who has no idea.
Yes,
Right.
so we'll work on that, we can easily do that. I appreciate the feedback.
One of the things I found very helpful was the Alabama's Federal Accountability System guide that's on the website.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it really gave a clear explanation concerning the weights that Dr. Reynolds mentioned. When you're looking at the weights, and I know he mentioned about academic achievement being only 20%, but when you look at it from the perspective that schools without grade 12, academic achievement counts 40%. And you're looking beyond just academic achievement. You're looking at academic growth. You're looking at the progress with the English language proficiency, as well as chronic absenteeism. And so when I went in and really searched the data, because I'm interested, okay, there, you know, what can we do? We've identified that we have schools that need to show greater progress, but those indicators can serve as a guide to provide the supports. And so when I looked at the supports that are being provided, and as you mentioned earlier, when your team goes in, they're providing the support based on the data. And so the indicators give you a strategic guide to go by that has already been identified that these are the challenges. And so when I looked at the data, I didn't just look at academic achievement, because there were some, the academic achievement level was very, very low, but you looked at growth and they may have been at 80, 90%. And so we have to look at it, you know, comprehensively and really identify, now that we know that these are the challenges, where are we with the next steps of what we're going to do about it. And so I agree with what Ms. Bell said, that maybe we need to have it in a manner where someone that may or may not be an educator or educated can understand what's going on. But it served as a great resource for me in really understanding where we are. And when you look at it overall, we see that we may not be where we want to be, but we are making steps and headed in the right direction. We are making progress. And so I just want to thank your team for what you're doing and how you can see the alignment with the supports that's being offered. So we're meeting not only the state accountability, but we're also, of course, you can't forget federal. And so we see how all of this is matching, and we may not have gotten where we wanted, but as I said a few minutes ago, we are headed in the right direction. And so just thank you and your team.
I want to ask a question in line with what you're saying, how things are being lined up to be able to identify, knowing that we have more priority schools in order to provide supports. Do we have enough people in order to provide the supports that are being identified from what she described at this point? Where are we there?
Human capital is always a challenge, especially when you.
And I knew you won't say that, and I agree with you. But at that point where we are, realistically, how are we able to provide support?
So what we have been doing is having meetings across the department to see where we can provide that support. And we've been doing it across every single section. I have my partner in crime back there, Dr. Shields. We are
She's
meeting
moving
right now.
on, she's moving on still.
Yes, she is. And as a result, we're looking to see specifically where we can close any gaps. And in making certain also, we're talking about the indicators, just to see specifically like who can own the work of the indicators? What are the strategies that can be produced to ensure that what we already have in place, along with the other strategies that we need to, implement in order to ensure that we are catering to every single school and district in the state. So we're looking at not only boots on the ground, day-to-day kinds of things, but also like what professional development is needed to make sure that those districts can have what they need, those schools can have what they need, and definitely the leaders and teachers can have what they need.
If I could just jump in there,
Yes.
and coordinate with Ms. Washington, so that was, immediately what we did because the list had grown exponentially. So we have a lot of field staff across the state doing amazing work, ARI, AMSTI, we got MTSS, we have ESL coaches across the state. We've got, wonderful A10 specialists who are doing some amazing things with using technology for different instruction. We've got OMI. So we have more staff in the schools providing elbow to elbow, teacher to teacher support than we've ever had. So that was the very first thing we did, is to make sure that everyone has access to the new priority list.
Right.
Because we already have staff in these schools. If it's a full support school for math, then Karen Anderson already has staff there that are dedicated, and we know to prioritize for whatever those specific things are. Because this is led by the state report card, it definitely gives us an advantage that we did not have before, because it used to be just the bottom 5%. Now we're able to see that there's a huge discrepancy with chronic absence among Hispanic Latino students. I mean, we can't even drill down to that. We can go in and see where the disparities for the overall, criteria for accountability, and then plug in where necessary. So while the numbers are increased, we have a better lens of this more direct supports that they need. And then we all try to model, and I'm really proud of the way we're able to do that. We coordinate, we talk about across the state multi-tier systems of supports. We meet regularly, very regularly, but we have at least one calibration meeting a month among ourselves to coordinate the efforts of field staff, so that we don't have one school that has 9 State Department people, we talked about that before, showing up on a Tuesday. We want to coordinate efforts to address whatever that specific need is.
When you meet with the legislature, do you offer them this type of background? When I see pieces of legislation, I'm thinking they don't really know what's going on. And I don't mean it in a negative pointed way, but I think what you both have shared would be very helpful in trying to provide that background, that education, if they will attend. And I know you all try to get them where they need to be, but if we can provide that background in a way where we present it, well, I know you know this, but I think that actually would provide some help. I'm sure you've done it over and over.
We did.
But the way that you described it is, I think the way to present it, and don't stop. Sometimes you just have to repeat doing this. You think you're going overboard, but really it takes that, as you know. I mean, that's the way teachers teach so often, is trying to get that. And they see the light bulb go off, but we're on. We hope. But from that standpoint, I think when I talk to my friends who happen to be in the legislature, they don't understand what so I'll ask the question, why? The whole conversation is, so I'll ask questions like, why? And usually it's 2 or 3 words, but they can't explain it. And then they start asking questions. And so if you get calls from any of them, you'll know perhaps where they came from, and they may share that. But the bottom line is, I think there's a huge lack of communication or understanding on their part. You may be communicating it, but they're not getting it, and I think that's a real big, it continues to be a big issue. and a problem. And I think if we keep changing things, and I've seen it over the many years, then teachers become so frustrated because you keep changing everything. And I have to explain, it's not coming from the state school board. And really, they're always, I'm sure you get that a lot, but that's where they don't seem, you just see this glaze again among some policy people.
I'm in the amen corner. It's very, one of the, you just said it, and I cannot say it better, that it's not necessarily the communicating, it's the hearing. And
Exactly.
I'm saying it more poorly than you did, but
No.
yeah, it's,
You just said it.
and it's very difficult to get into the kind of long, deep conversations that are needed to understand what this board, I mean, y'all get into these conversations, but, you know, and I not mean it to sound negative toward people, but like you know, an education policy committee meeting, usually they're trying to do it in 30 or 40 minutes. They're looking at, in that time, 10 bills. And so, yes, you get some time at the microphone, but do you get this kind of discussion?
No.
No.
And
That's
right. It's hard to get, but they need it as much as we all need it. And and the ones who need it the most are the ones who are in the trenches. Those are at the grassroots level who are doing the work, and we mandate things, but they're the ones who have to implement it. And I hear stories all the time, and I wish I wish I could do something. But I always say too, go talk to your legislator and have a really good in-depth conversation. Share what you just shared with me.
And combining what Dr. Chestnut said and the prevailing role that we're seeing, the emphasis toward school choice or whatever that means. And Dr. Mackey was very eloquent in trying to just divide that, convincing individuals about academic progress versus academic achievement. They just want to look at one numbers. And the school choice bill and the various governmental people in the legislature coming in are saying what they're going to do is concerning to me. I would say frightening, but it's concerning to me because my relationship with those in government is they're suspicious of what I say. And I'm not sure they believe that we're making improvements. And I know Tina and Mr. Connor, I know what they face in dealing with it because I face it with my colleagues who are my friends who are in the legislature. And I cannot but accept the fact that I'm also a politician as an elected member. And if we're going to answer the downhill impetus to school choice, it has to be by our data presentation and efforts that we're doing to deal with school achievement versus school improvement. And that's difficult. Dr. Vanderver sent me the formula for school achievement, and I'm not sure I can separate it all. And I thought I knew a little bit about mathematical computation, so I've got to sit down, call him back, but that's a difficult thing to explain. And that's 25%. And I didn't mean that if I said only 20%, I meant to say it was 20% in the report card. And the report card concept is not like my school report card or my GPA at college. It's a different concept, and people combine the two. And I don't have the answer except that in my own district, I see schools that are not achieving like they thought they were. Thank you.
Point well taken. Any other discussion?
I think, if I may, I've been to a meeting with the superintendents in District 1, which is, of course, not just District 1, but anyhow, you know, they had and I'm sure they shared it with you, a presentation about using the ACT as So I think that needs to be at one time a discussion of sorts, because, I got their PowerPoint, there was probably 20, 25 of the superintendents very, concerned that why do, because colleges are getting away from using that, and a lot of our career tech kids don't view it the way they should. So I think it's a discussion that needs to be forthwith.
Okay, we'll
We
bring
had the
that
same
back.
discussion in District 6 too.
Did you? Okay, I'm not surprised.
We had it also in District 4.
Well, there you go, they're just busy little bees out
So
there.
we-
Well, I had concern from the very beginning.
Well, we did too,
If you
yes.
recall.
Well, we, 2 years ago, we surveyed superintendents,
I know.
and it was very weird. Well, it's weird. It's very low turnout of surveys, and
They
then
mentioned that.
of what we got, they were very much divided. So we have surveyed them again. You haven't seen it because it's the same thing. So, about 50 of the superintendents, after multiple and personal phone calls, did not respond. But the ones that did respond, they're 50-50. Half want to keep the ACT and half don't. We don't know if the 50 others would respond, or it may have been 50, maybe it was 35, but it was a large number. If they would respond, they might swing it one way or the other, but their lack of response makes me think they don't care one way or the other. Not saying they don't care at all, but they don't care with what test we use. But the group that wants to move away from the ACT has become much more vocal, which is fine with me, because I think they need to be having that discussion with each other, and then, and I'm glad to hear that they're talking to y'all. So we'll be glad to come back anytime and if you want to and talk about that discussion. If we moved away from ACT, the question is then what? We have to test.
And it's not like they want to get rid of the ACT totally. They want that to be something, but not tied.
But not the accountability measure.
Exactly.
In that survey, do you ask them if they just don't want to have to go through the trouble again about changing it again after, how many times they've changed it over
It's a
the
good
years?
Well,
question.
but the ACT isn't even tied to our standards.
No, they're not.
The vast majority, even of the ones that want to leave the ACT for accountability, do want to keep offering the ACT.
Yes.
Oh, they should.
And that is another issue because cost. Y'all know we've asked for money, additional testing money for the legislature every year I've been here, and we've never gotten a dime. And I get that because it's when you talk about paying more for tests, it's hard to get through. But if we move to a state accountability test, unless the legislature gave us more money, we could not continue to give the ACT to every child.
Right.
Not saying we couldn't offer some ACT, but it would be very limited what we could do unless we got more money. But let's put that on for later in the spring.
I think
I
so.
bet some of them are hearing each other, so you may hear from some more superintendents.
Okay.
And let's have that discussion again. I think it's
I
time.
want them to know we've been listening to them
Yes.
and that we're
Absolutely.
not letting that ball just.
Dr. Mackey,
I've mentioned it once before.
has Mr. Hollingsworth done a similar survey within his control group, because he represents them all, or do you
Yes,
know? I know he's expressed some concerns specific to me, so I assume he had a basis for telling me that there was some trouble, not specific, with using the ACT, and I don't have an answer, he didn't either.
Data keep coming back pretty similar.
Well, they didn't like the exit exams, and when we added social studies, that seemed to be it, no
Yeah,
more.
I
And
remember.
they wanted to get rid of it, so, they got something else, and
They don't like it either.
I wondered how long it would take.
Well, those that do well like it, those that doesn't do
There you
well,
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
thank you, Ben, you've been very gracious with your time.
Let me, or you want me to kind of jump to the
Well,
last
just
thing?
making sure, do we have any other
Sorry, we
discussion?
just sort of turned our heads to you.
Thank you so much.
I want to mention just a couple of things, and it'll be pretty fast in passing, but as we just kind of think about, by the time we come back, we will have, the legislature will convene. So they're going to convene, and then we'll be back for a board meeting like 2 days later. I mentioned that. And so what that means is we'll see the budget. Now, you know, the budget, well, it means a lot of things, but the budget's in the black hole, I always call it now. We have had
What does that mean?
More discussions. Well, we turn our budget request in to the Executive Budget Office by November 1st, it's required. But then we don't see the budget again until it is introduced, usually after the governor's speech. And so we'll have had it for probably 36 hours when you come in for your meeting in February. And my plan is that we will talk at the work session, limited, I don't want to keep you all day, but we'll go through your request and what's actually in her budget proposal. We know it won't be everything because we know the cap, we know how much money is available, and it's a lot less than what we asked for. But I will tell you this, the Executive Budget Office, which is technically under the governor, we've had more conversations with them this year, and they've asked more questions than I think ever before. So they're very engaged, and their priorities they are asking about are the exact priorities that y'all set up back last summer. So I feel really good about where we're going. I just don't know what the numbers will look like in that. But when you come in, we'll spend some time that day kind of saying, okay, here's what we asked for, and here's what is in the actual budget proposal. And so I just kind of thinking about that before. What?
When will the
budget come out? Generally on Wednesday morning after the governor speaks on Tuesday night.
Which is like 2 weeks from now, right?
It's the Tuesday, February 6th.
Well,
it's the Tuesday before we meet, yes.
It's not before the work.
So the State of the State speech will be February 6th.
7th will be
And then the 7th we'll see the budget, the 8th we'll have a meeting.
Can you do something
So,
for us? If you, in the years past, and I keep talking about that because it actually was a positive thing. And that if you haven't been here, you don't know the history. But the board used to be invited to the governor's State of the State address. I think the presence of the board, even if everyone cannot attend, is extremely important. And even if they put us, one year they put us down on the floor.
The balcony.
And even if they put us in the balcony, at least we're sort of there. And I would even have reserved seats. I would have the two officers. I think it's important. If she's the president of the board, then why wouldn't she invite the board? Where she serves as if it's ex officio, but as the president of the board. And so I think that, I think it would be as not just a courtesy, but I think it would be important for the board to be there and to be seen. And we've done it in the past, and it worked. When I was the board vice president, I made sure that we were invited, and we were. And if you didn't want to come, you didn't have to come. But it still was a good thing to do. And I think, and you can sit down.
I just don't issue the invitations.
I know you don't, but you can sit down.
As long as I have before.
In the cool crowd, but I think it's helpful to have the board.
I agree with Ms. Bell, and I also know the governor's representatives here, Nick's here, and I think if we let them know that since her major emphasis that she's publicizing is education and school choice, and like you said in your article, you'd like to know what she's proposing, I'd like to be there and hear what she's proposing. Because I enjoyed her speech at inauguration, because I was at inauguration. So I didn't know you ever got to go.
Oh, we did. And we
Make a note of that, please.
Don't take no
You'll make a note of that, thank you. So then we'll have a lot of folks here in February meeting. We don't have anything the night before like we just had, but we will in March. We'll have that afternoon event where we'll have all the students who come in. Those students generally don't come back, remember, for the board meeting on the next morning. Some of them spend the night, but most of them don't. So in general, you'll see them on Wednesday afternoon.
You said that's the art thing,
but
not
you said
those students. You mean that's the artists?
The art, right? Our art winners. Most of them don't come back to the board meeting the next morning. That'll be in March, not February. But just kind of thinking about ahead, you might want to come if you'll plan if you can to come in March a day early. If you can't, that's certainly fine. We'll award your folks their awards. And spring is coming, so be weather aware tomorrow. I know it's going to be an interesting day.
It's gonna be very. It must be terrible.
Yeah,
No, ma'am, that's it.
I do want to talk about the retreat. I'm passing.
Here, I'll walk over.
Oh, here.
Those young legs. We're over here.
Yeah, over there.
I use any excuse to stand up. I'm sitting so long. Thank you.
I didn't know this was coming. Thank you.
We're looking forward to the retreat and hoping that all of our board members can be in attendance. You'll see here that on the evening of January 30th, we will meet at Alabama State University John Garrett Party Center. They will have reserved parking for us. I will send you, or have Chuck to send you the map, but parking will be reserved right in front of the center, so you won't have to do a whole lot of walking. I walked through, it's right there. And so you will get that information prior to January 30th. We will again be there the next morning for breakfast and hold our board discussion there. And so we look forward to having dinner and breakfast at Alabama State University along with our board discussions. We'll also have the opportunity to visit Booker T. Washington Magnet High School as well as Carver High School. I've had the opportunity to speak with both of those principals, Dr. Brown, as well as some of his staff, and they're excited about us coming and look forward to us being there. We will have lunch at Carver High School. I don't know how many of you have been there, but they have just state-of-the-art culinary program there. Is just phenomenal. And so we look forward to that opportunity to engage with the students and visit Carver High School. But do you have any questions? I think that we have a lot of great discussion planned for this retreat, and we just are so grateful for Dr. Quentin Ross, President of Alabama State, as well as Dr. Brown, for their willingness and cooperation in having us on January 30th and January 31st.
I'm sorry, where are we staying? Is there a?
It's your choice.
Our choice. Okay.
At my house.
I'll be there. What time we go serve lunch?
Okay, so we just find a place close.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to add that so we have, Dr. Chestnut's done a great job putting all this together, but one of the things I know she and our staff talked about is inviting some legislators, so Tina's worked on, we're inviting the local Montgomery area delegation, plus some of the education chairs. So it's not everybody from across the state, but the folks who are local here. And I've already talked to some of them who are excited about joining us for lunch at Carver on that second day is what they're planning on coming to.
Oh, yum. Will they have those good rolls?
Maybe.
I will make sure.
Just call them and tell me what the
It's the
special
butter,
request.
it's the commodity butter I wanna have.
I know when the students get, they always get that, really, they don't realize that it's actually.
I also want to thank Mr. Markham for his support in this effort, and we just look forward to all of the board members being in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Any other discussions? If not, our meeting is adjourned.
Okay, good job.
Careful. Thank you.
What's in our box here?
But why don't Jack Kelly put the pieces in there?